Today we're going to talk about finding distance on a coordinate plane when you're given 2 points. Sometimes finding the distance between 2 points on a coordinate plane is as simple as looking and counting the number of units like in graph A. So in graph A, it's a straight line going across, so I can count. 1, 2, 3. So the distance from this point to this point is 3. Other times we might need to find a diagonal distance, like in graph B. These 2 points are diagonal from each other, so it's harder to find the distance there. To find a diagonal distance on a coordinate plane, we can create our own right triangle and use the Pythagorean theorem to calculate the distance. Remember, Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where a and b represent the legs of the right triangle and c represents the hypotenuse of the right triangle. The diagonal distance would then represent the hypotenuse or C. Let's do a couple examples. Right, so number 1, it says use the Pythagorean theorem to find the distance between points A and B on each graph and round your answers to the nearest tenth. So the first thing we need to do is we need to connect point A and point B on our graph. So I'm going to connect these points. Okay, so I'm looking for the distance from A to B. I'm looking for that diagonal distance. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a right triangle. Okay, I created a right triangle. Here's my 90-degree angle. So now that I've created this right triangle, I know that I have 2 legs, so I'm going to call them A and B, and I have my hypotenuse C. So now what I do is I go through and I label or I count the distance for each leg. So this right here is 1, 2, 3, 4. The distance for my side B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I use Pythagorean theorem to find my C value. So I have A squared plus B squared equals C squared. My A value is 4, so I have 4 squared, plus my B value is 5, so I have 5 squared, and that equals C squared. 4 squared is 16, plus 5 squared, which is 25, and that equals C squared. I add these 2 sides together. 16 plus 25 is 41. 41 equals C squared. Now I want to get C all by itself, so I need to take the square root. I do it to both sides. You can plug that into your calculator. So the square root of 41, I'm going to round it to 6.4, and that equals C. So that means the distance from A to B is 6.4 units. Let's do one more example. Number 2. I have my 2 points A and B, and I am looking for the connect them and then find the diagonal distance between the 2. I'm looking for that right there. So I need to create a right triangle. To find my 2 legs, which will help me find my hypotenuse. So now I have I'm going to say this is side A, side B, and side C. And now I find the distance or the length of side A. So I count 1, 2, and I count the length of side B. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. And now I can use that information to find my length C by using the Pythagorean theorem. So I have A squared plus B squared equals C squared. My A value is 2, so I have 2 squared, plus my B value is 7, so I have 7 squared equals C squared. 2 squared is 4, plus 7 squared, which is 49, and that equals C squared. I add these two sides together. 4 plus 49 is 53. 53 equals C squared. I want to get C all by itself, so I need to find the square root. And the square root of 53 is 7.3. I'm rounding. 7.3C. So that means the length or the distance from A to B is 7.3 units. You're going to finish the front page with number 3 and then work on the questions on the back over finding the distance on a coordinate plane.